They told you it's going to save the world. They told it's going to change everything. They told the world is never going to be the same. It's happening with AI right now as well.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Web3 CMO Stories podcast. My name is Yuri Bilast and I'm your podcast host. And today I'm stoked to be joined by Diego Borgo. Hi Diego, what's up?
What good, man? Bienvenida.
All good. Yeah, good to see you again. After we met at the Web Summit in Lisbon. By the way, as you know, I moved to Lisbon area too. And I've had a look. It's 2 years ago that you were on the show. So time goes really fast.
I think things have changed a little bit.
Yeah, it has changed a little bit. So it was time to invite you again. And for people that maybe don't know you, guys, Diego Borgo, he's a brand executive advisor guiding Fortune 500 leaders and Web3 founders to success in the ever-evolving internet. Indeed, it is evolving all the time. And Diego, let's just dive in because I want to talk to you about, the biggest misconception about Web3 that people still believe. And why you think it still exists.
Yeah, totally. Thanks again. Thanks for having me. I joke that things may have changed. When you're at the edge of what's next, it's like every week is crazy, right? Like 2025 for blockchain, crypto, and AI has already has been decades of like changes and evolution, right? So it's quite exciting to be working within that industry, but at the same time is a lot of things to catch up every day, right? And when you start looking to what are the misconceptions or where sort of like we stand on Web3, by December last year, I took a quite a strong stance on what 2025 is going to be all about on my content, on my work, and what I do. And I'm calling for a rebrand of Web3, right? I've did a keynote in Lisbon last year, by the end of last year, talking exactly about that, right? And I think it's a lot into what you're just asking, because if you look at the current mainstream perception of Web3 and crypto, and sometimes even blockchain technology as is seen kind of like as one, the generic or the general assumption or the general understanding, it's most of the time related with scams, Ponzi's, no use cases, right? People think about FTX. People think about the Luna collapse. People think about, oh yeah, my cousin told me about that coin I bought and I lost all my money, right? So the few people that take the leap from what they think it is and get their hands dirty, most of the time get burnt. We literally just seen that before Trump's inauguration with, the now president of the United States releasing a meme coin, right? A lot of people got excited about it. A lot of people that have never been in this industry before got their hands into it. And a lot of people got burned, right? So it's just a repetition over and over of what has happened before and what keeps continuing happening within this industry. So that's kind of like why I keep going back to this concept of Web3 needs a rebrand, because this perception that the mainstream has is not going to change unless we start changing from the inside out and unless we start working together to shape it. And as a brand guy, a brand strategist, someone that comes from that background, branding is where it starts as well, right? Because that can shift culture, because that can shift product, because that can shift perspective from the mainstream.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, a lot of things are happening. You mentioned Trump since he came on, also with his meme coin. It's crazy. But you mentioned that the rebrand, of course, Web3, when I talk to people, they don't fully understand what it is or they're thinking about these scams. So if you were to rebrand Web3, I would say from scratch, what would be the core narrative that you would build around it?
Yeah, I think that apart from what I just said, which is not necessarily something quick to fix, because the industry was built, by a lot of those principles of decentralization, permissionless, meaning anybody can come and do whatever they want. Nobody needs to ask for permission. Everybody can launch a coin, right? So once you open the gate that everybody can do it, not just people with good intentions will do it, The thing is that, with a wide open gate, a lot of that becomes a little bit gray, and you see a lot of people going for the wrong reasons. Doesn't mean that everybody in the industry is a scammer. Doesn't mean that every coin is a scam. It doesn't mean that every founder is a scammer, right? But the what happens on the mainstream is that those things obviously echo louder because that's what grabs attention, right? So I think that this isn't necessarily something easy to change because the technology enables it to happen, and and people do it. But I think that when we start looking from a sort of like a rebranding perspective, one of the things that is entirely under our control, as founders, as CMOs, as CTOs, as CEOs, is how we communicate the technology, how we communicate the product, how we communicate the benefits, which we are fucking in love with this technology. Let's get that clear, because we love talking about the technology. Stack here, stack there, is names, is hyper secure, zero knowledge, cryptographic algorithm. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Right. So we just love it. It's an obsession at this stage. And I always keep saying that this industry was built by technologists for technologists. And people just talk that way. And we expect that every other human understands what we're talking about. And they don't. Right. So I think that this is one big element that nobody gives a fuck about the technology. Right. So how do we start shifting the dial as now almost 4 years fully dedicated to this industry, 25 hours a day as I've been? I understand that every single founder I have spoken with has the desire of getting the mainstreams, getting their product in the hands of the mainstream, right? Because that means we get more users, we get more people, we can ramp up revenue. So with that assumption in mind, the tech talk's not going to do it. That's one of the first pillars, right? So how we start looking into that. The second thing is that we're so proud about this concept, and I'm included in what I'm just gonna say, that we keep presenting Web3 as the Wild West. It's the Wild West. It's the Wild West. How many times have you heard that? And how many times, whoever in the audience that is more into the industry has heard that before as well? It's the Wild West. And we are proud of it. My newsletter is called The Wild West of Web3, right? I'm part of this problem. I'm not here to point fingers and call everybody out and I'm the best role model, because I'm not. It's embedded in our culture, but I start to challenge that too, because nobody wants to be in the Wild West. Nobody's like, yeah, sure, I want to be in the Wild West, because, like, who wants to be there? People don't want to, jump on a boat with a drunken captain that doesn't know where it's going, and, we'll see what happens. And that's kind of like how we proudly present this industry as well, which again is branding, is positioning. So for me, like, those are the sort of like core elements which we have full control on. There are three, right? The first one was scams and that, which is more cultural, and there's a lot of course to do with things that are out of control of every single founder. But by leading by example is a way on which you start shifting it. The second one is about, the tech talk. And the third one is about this element of like, this is the Wild West, right? Because nobody wants to be there. So once you start laying that out, the actions we can start taking as CMOs or brand leaders and marketeers is to start putting ourselves into the shoes of the person we are talking to, right? Which is meeting people where they're at and on their own terms. It's making clear to CEOs, CTOs, whoever is the tech lead, that tech is not a differentiating point, it's an equalizer, right? It makes everybody the same because everybody can use the same tech. It's not going to make the difference, right? And then you can build on top of that with brand to create a unique product or a unique, perspective or position for your company. Because tech can be copied, right? Like we're seeing what just happened with ChatGPT and DeepSeek, right? Like, it can happen with any tech company, but as long as you have a strong brand, it becomes much harder for things like that to be taken away from you, right? So that's kind of like in short, and without getting too deep, because I want to see where you want to bring this conversation to, the way I'm looking more and more into that,
Yeah, you touched upon different things. By the way, the Wild Wild West, I knew about your newsletter. A few years ago, I was also in San Diego about crypto conference, and I was a singer even making a song, Todd Smith, about the Wild Wild West. So, but yeah, it's evolving. You mentioned DeepSeek. AI, AI is starting already for some time, starting to dominate in the conversation now. Yeah, where does that leave Web3? And should we adapt somewhere, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just to wrap on this concept of like brand in Web3, right? Before we jump into AI, because it's a
Okay.
different rabbit hole as well.
Yeah.
the the thing that we can talk to people that are more analytical now. I talk like kind of like conceptually on one side, and now I want to like give you numbers and things to think of from an analytic perspective, right? So there's 10 million web active wallets right now. 10 million, right? People that are actively in Web3. When you look Web3, kind of like not just holding crypto, right? People that are using dApps, decentralized applications, people that are using DeFi, decentralized finance, people that are active doing shit every day in Web3, right? There's 10 million wallets. If you look into the amount of crypto users, right? People that have crypto, people that bought, or that friend that, someone told them to buy Cardano in 2017 and they did, and they never went back to it. There is about 560 million people that are crypto users, right? And if you think about the amount of people that are using the internet, right? There's 5.5 billion users in the internet. So if we are in Web3 building the new internet, we're not winning. We're not winning because the numbers are very, very far, right? So my call with that rebrand and my call into looking into those pillars I mentioned before is we need to shift the dial and to get faster in towards where we want to be because we're not winning.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting point. And that's, who's winning, because I see these Web3 people, suddenly they don't mention Web3 anymore on their LinkedIn profile. They are not Web3 expert, but they are AI expert right now. So they're putting AI everywhere, depending how you define Web3, of course, if you put like AI in it or not. So yes, and you mentioned DeepSeek. So yeah, give
Let's go there.
give me your thoughts about that.
Sure, you want to go there. So let me set the scene. I do not speak about things I haven't done, right? And a lot of people within this last 12 to 15 months have been asking me like, bro, why are you not talking about AI? Right? When I'm doing content, when I'm talking to podcasts, when I'm giving keynotes and speaking, why are you not talking about AI? You're going to pivot to AI? You coming to AI? Like, I don't talk about stuff I haven't done. So I spent the last 10 months in the trenches by working with AI and crypto companies, by investing in AI and crypto projects. And by, I have AI agents that I've been running and learning and trying to run nodes and trying to understand all of it. So I spent literally the last 10 months doing shit. And now, this time, my friend, is going to be the first time I'm going to talk about it. Because now I feel I'm in a position that I understand enough to talk about it without being just another one jumping in the hype train, right? And one thing that I'm really excited about is that I feel there is a strong potential now in the combination of AI and blockchain, right? And that's where I want to focus the conversation on. Because of course we can go DeepSeek, Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever. There's a fuck ton of content out there, and I have not spent a lot of time focused on that side. I rather focus on the later that I mentioned before. So what excites me about what's happening in that side of things is three things that I'm really, really excited about. I think the first one is where blockchain is really well posed to solve a problem that AI has already created, and I think is going to exponentially keep creating, which is proof of content, right? Proof of creation, proof of provenance of content. Is this video that you're seeing about Trump shouting at someone true? Is this video about Will Smith eating pasta true? Is this, image that you're seeing about Trump getting arrested in New York true? Is this video about Pope wearing a puff jacket true? Like, it's gonna become more and more blurry, right? I posted a meme the other day. There was, someone just saying like, the moment you cannot differentiate, whether it's AI and a human or a real picture, right? And it was kind of like, oh, that's cool. But then on the other side, I was like, the moment you cannot differentiate whether it's AI or a human creation, it's kind of like scary. So we're kind of like almost past that stage because it's becoming more and more difficult to see it. And I think that here where blockchain plays a really interesting role is because of its essence of being a ledger where things can be put and immutable, that things cannot be changed, and you can look back into that database and see where they're coming from. It's really well posed to solve a issue like that, right? Where we can now understand where that image is coming from. We can now understand whether that video was sourced by that news outlet or not. We can now understand whether that campaign was done by that company or that agency or not, right? When you look into all those ads that we are seeing that are AI generated now, like who guarantees you that Coca-Cola did that? Right? We just don't know. We believe on what we see. And I mean, the internet is all about that, right? Your truth is whatever you want a truth to be, because now who the fuck knows what truth is? So I think that there is a role there which is exciting, where, you know, that proof of source, proof of provenance, whatever you want to call is interesting. Now, down the rabbit hole, there is another thing that, you know, I've been spending quite some time on, which is AI agents. And of course, that's happening, you know, in a large scale within Web2 and big tech. Salesforce, of course, leading the way with their force agent force, GPT and many others, Perplexity and many others building, Microsoft and so on. Where, you know, or of course, NVIDIA saying that is, I don't remember the number, but like a 2 trillion economy, whatever the number was, big ass number, that it is in fact something that everybody's kind of like looking at, right? What I find interesting with AI agents within Web3 is that for me, I cannot see a world on which an AI agent will operate financially on your behalf and gonna use the banking system or gonna use like credit card, right? The currency for agents is crypto. That's what is in my mind. And the why is quite simple. Anybody can set up a wallet. Nobody needs to approve it. And as soon as you confirm a signature in a smart contract, you can give a certain amount of, you know, let that agent to operate on your behalf as a user. So you can have control what it can do and what cannot do. Let's say you can spend $100, or let's say you can do whatever you want, right? You can set those rules, and therefore it can happen. Meaning, you can have 30 agents operating on your behalf, and you can create 30 wallets in a second, and nobody needs to approve that. And money is just going to flow left and right. Doesn't even need to be Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever complex crypto. It can just be simply stable coins. It costs a fraction to transact. It's in seconds, and it's global. So that's what I'm really excited about when it comes to AI agents, because I believe that when infrastructures meet, that's when really, really big changes happen, right? And I think there's a really good fit there. Now, when you look into agents per se, right now, there's 3 categories of agents within our industry, right? There's infrastructure play, which are, you know, projects that are building launch pads for AI agents. For example, Virtuos is one that is leading the way. CreatorBit, a company that I spent 5 months as a CMO early summer last year, where I started really getting deep into this whole thing, as I mentioned before. Cookie Tree, I've been working with them for about almost 3 years now as an advisor, where they build the index of information for agents. They're compiling everything that agencies are doing on Twitter, on chain, and they're providing that information for other agents to use and become more intelligent, right? So that infrastructure play is interesting because it's really building the guardrails, the foundations for, you know, a lot of what I just said to happen. And now of course you have memes, which are now transitioning from, you know, just memes that are funny to kind of like, okay, what is the utility of a meme? And now shit posting on Twitter became an utility. And we've seen that with Goat, which was the first one that came out, which was, you know, a breakthrough in that sense. And now XAIBT being essentially the biggest KOL and having the biggest mind share within the industry as well when it comes to talking about, you know, like market predictions or even just shit posting against other KOLs and things like that. So if you're not too deep into our industry, that might sound crazy to you, but it's happening. And then you start having utility as well, right? Which is sort of like the third pillar, which a new narrative that I'm really excited about is DeFi, right? Which is decentralized finance combined with artificial intelligence, right? And why does that matter? Why it matters is that DeFi per se, decentralized finance per se, has a very big entry barrier, which is still very complex to get it. right? And people are like, oh, it's not complex. You made it super easy. Yeah, explain me how to bridge an asset. Explain me why we bridge assets. Explain me, like what sort of like, how do you set certain criteria so you don't get impermanent loss, right? Explain me like what a liquidity pool is, right? Like we haven't made it simple, like dumb simple for people to get in still. Right. And then you need to connect your wallet here. And there's that protocol and this protocol. And you need to from this chain to that chain so you can get that chain. But you need this to pay the guys for that. It's still super difficult, right? Now, where AI agents play an interesting role within that concept is that you could literally just have a prompt screen and say, I want to send money from Ethereum to Bitcoin at this price. Do it whenever time is right. Here are the funds, right? And then things just happen automatically. So not just about trading, but also moving assets, also about exchanging assets, also about like changing from wallet to wallet and things of that nature. So it becomes quite exciting from that angle. So you're kind of like removing the UI, the user interface need for a platform, a DeFi platform on which you are enhancing the experience for the user and making it for everybody else to come and do something, right? So I'm quite excited about that element. And to wrap on sort of like this AI agent blockchain rent, I think that's where we start finding fit for technology stacks to come together. Because I remember at the beginning when AI really come about with ChatGPT rollout about, I think 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I'm not quite sure. Everybody was like, oh, this is the killer of blockchain. This is going to kill Web3. And I was, I just raised my arm. I was like, guys, look at your fucking phone. It's not just one technology. It's a stack of technology that makes someone's lives better. That's why everybody has a phone. And that's why when you go down the street, everybody's like that, because it changed something. It made something more, accessible to them. And now those are the early starts where those stack of technology are starting to get combined, where AI is existing with and without crypto, and crypto is existing with and without AI, but things are converging. And in those converging points, there's exciting experience that can be built. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. Me too, actually. I know that's one of the messages you bring when these new technologies, they converge. Actually, we met in November at the Web Summit. I heard you talk about VR, AR, and so on. Then I know you were in Belgium in December when I was in Cairo. I gave a talk about the CMO of the future, which was for a marketing audience. And then I talked about all these new technologies, how they are coming together. But Diego, because I'm Belgian and I was there, so I missed your talk in Belgium. And I think it was about, you also wrote a blog article about it. They lied to you about Web3. And so I'm fascinated. I'm curious, can you tell me what it was about and how were people reacting to your talk in Belgium?
Yeah, shout out to Belgium. 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row, I've been speaking Belgian. So Vazan for Brussels.
I know you were the other event because last year I was speaking at the marketing congress myself, but then you were at the Web3 event in Belgium, and this guy actually who organizes it lived in the same village as where I lived when I was in Belgium. So it's such a small world. But anyway, so go ahead.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the let's rebrand Web3 is a call, a call to arms for Web3 founders, people that are building in Web3. Is the way we talk about is a lot of the work I do as an executive advisor is a lot around that, right? Is how we get to the C level when we get them to understand the power of it, right? And how we can simplify the message so we start getting mainstream towards this. They lie to you about Web3 is it's a call to the Web2 audience. That marketing congress is saying a Web2 event, and it's me coming from a very raw and clear and no bullshit. I'm not here to tell you, we were changing the world point of view to say that's what they promise you, and not just like Web3, right? Like I started the conversation with this idea of, futurists are really good at one thing, which is, just like coming up with shit, right? Like nobody knows the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. And every time there is a new emerging technology, there are a couple people that just jump ahead and was like, this is exactly what's going to happen in 10 years from now. Everybody's going to be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And that also happened with Web3, of course, right? We had the NFT hype and we have the Web3 hype and then on, right? So that's kind of like the main idea. They lied to you, which is they told you it's going to save the world. They told you it's going to change everything. They told the world is never going to be the same. It's happening with AI right now as well, right? Like it's happening. You see everybody's job is going to be replaced. AI is going to change everything. I even had a video on the keynote, which was, like the CEO from Google saying that AI development right now is even more powerful than the invention of fire. Oh, how can it be like better than fire? You know what I mean? So we are on those stages of hype. And for me, it was all about like, okay, let's come down. Here are the facts. A lot of what I talked today, I was talking there as well. Now, here are the facts. So those are things that are happening. Obviously, that was pre-Trump inauguration, but a lot of that was like, listen, the governments are buying crypto and trying to understand how they can, hedge economies with it. Regulations in a government level are changing to be more pro development of blockchain solutions and crypto solutions, right? Small, medium-sized countries are doing it. You see the conversations in the US about the Bitcoin strategic reserve. We've seen Bhutan leading the way by buying Bitcoin early. You've seen El Salvador being very vocal about it, right? It's happening, right? It's not the future. It's not what will happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what's happening right now. Like MicroStrategy, overperforming the S&P 500 by hedging on Bitcoin. So you also have like small, mid-sized, large organizations doing it, and groups and so on. So that's kind of like what's happening right now. And as regulations shift, as technology gets better, and as the beginning of our conversation around rebranding Web3, which I'm quite a believer of, that's a way in which we're going to get more people's attention and making more sense to them. As those things always start combining, there is something there worth to you to revisit, because they lied to you in the past, and I'm not here to lie to tell you that this is the future, but I feel that there is still early advantages and early opportunities for you as a marketeer or a brand strategist or a CMO to review and revisit what's happening, because I feel there is still opportunities for people in that industry, and it doesn't have to be either or, right? It doesn't have to be, okay, it's a full blockchain product, it's a full blockchain solution, we're going to go all in on this. No, but there are ways in which you can leverage this technology to make your client's life better, right? Or to provide better services, or to solve problems that you before weren't able to solve. So those are the things that I'm just like calling people to revisit and look with a more sober eye to it, as the hype has calmed down quite a lot from within this last 2 years since we haven't spoke, and that's kind of like all what it was about.
Wow, that's a powerful message, Diego. And every time, I listen to your keynote or we talk, the time goes so fast. So yeah, people that are now listening to this podcast, if they want to know more about you, if they want to know where you will maybe give your next talks, where would you like me to send them?
Yeah, so most of my content I create on LinkedIn. So you can hit me up on LinkedIn, Diego Borgo. You have the pink beanie on. It's not going to be hard to find me. I'm quite out there. But that's where I post majority of my content. The Wild West of Web3 is my weekly newsletter, which, a lot of what we talked today are things that I expand on my thoughts in there. And soon my next step as well to double down on my mission this year is going to be launching and partnering with a bunch of OG people from the advertisement industry, from the creative industry, from the brand industry, bringing them into the space and helping me deliver. Because our goal is to work together with the top 100, top 200 market cap companies in crypto to help them rebranding their own brand and pushing a new narrative on which we go towards the mainstream. So those are the ways you'll find. More to come on the ladder, but we're cooking.
Amazing. So as my listeners know, there are always show notes. There is a blog article linked to this podcast episode. Everything that Diego mentioned will be in there, links to the website, newsletter, and so on. Diego, it was such Such a pleasure and so fun to have you again on the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Let's run it back.
Guys, what an amazing episode. So I said that season 5 of the podcast will be a blast. So if you're not yet following the show, I would say now is the good moment to do this. And also, share this episode with your friends, with colleagues, with people that need to learn about Web3. They want to get smarter. They need to listen to the podcast episode with Diego. Also, if you haven't given me a review yet on our podcast or Spotify or elsewhere, it would really help me if you give me these 5 stars to reach an even bigger audience. And of course, I will see you next time. Take care.